There's this very specific type of panic that sets in for parents. I mean, I've felt it. You've probably felt it too. It's this literacy panic.
Oh, absolutely. The timeline pressure is just incredibly real.
Yeah, it's that moment where you look at the calendar and you look at your kid and you think, oh no, we're behind.
We live in this world of milestones, and reading is really the big one. It's the gatekeepers to everything else in school.
Right, and because it feels so high stakes, the mental image that pops up when we think about fixing it is almost always the same. It's what I call the library moment.
Uh-huh. The library moment.
Yeah, it's quiet, it's serious, maybe the lights are dimmed a bit, you're in a comfortable chair, the child is on your lap, and you are just grinding through a book, painstakingly sounding out every single vowel.
It's basically a performance at that point. It feels like a medical procedure, almost like we are now administering the literacy.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a very formal lesson.
Hmm.
And because it feels like a lesson, it brings all this emotional baggage with it. Like if the kid isn't getting it, you feel like you're failing as a teacher.
Oh, yeah. And if the kid gets bored, you feel like they're doomed academically. It's just intense.
But we are looking at a source material today that basically says to take that whole mental image, ball it up, and just throw it in the trash.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a total reset.
So today we are doing a deep dive into a guide titled Week 4, Print is Everywhere. And the big idea in this document is, honestly, a massive relief.
It really is.
It argues that if you are waiting for that library moment to teach reading, you've actually completely missed the starting line. But in a good way.
Right. Because the big reveal here, the thing that changes the whole equation, is that reading actually starts long before you ever even open a book.
Reading starts before books. I mean, that is the absolute mantra for this deep dive. I kind of want to print that out and stick it on my fridge.
It's a huge paradigm shift. We're talking about a concept here called print awareness. The guide isn't asking you to buy flashcards or a fancy tablet app or some curriculum with 100 moving parts.
Right.
It's arguing that the world you're walking through every single day, the grocery store, the street signs, the cereal boxes, the junk mail, that is the actual curriculum.
So the mission of our deep dive today is to figure out how to leverage that. How do we turn a walk to the bus stop into a literacy lesson? But, and this is the key part, without it feeling like a lesson.
Exactly, because nobody wants to be quizzed on their way to the park.
No, definitely not.
No.
So let's unpack this term, print awareness. It sounds a little academic, maybe a little technical. Is this just a fancy way of saying looking at stuff?
It's a little deeper than that. The source defines print awareness as the fundamental understanding that print has meaning. And I know that sounds incredibly obvious to us as adults.
Because we are just swimming in it.
Right, we are swimming in it. We can't not read. If I show you a stop sign or a logo for a famous soda, you hear the word in your head, whether you want to or not. It's totally automatic.
Exactly. We can't turn it off.
But for a child, they have to learn that those red shapes and white lines aren't just decoration. They aren't just scratches on a surface. They are a code.
A code, yeah.
They are a specific set of symbols that carry a message, that click that realization that, oh, those squiggles actually tell me something. That is print awareness.
And the source makes a really interesting point here about the environment, too. It says print is all around us. And it lists these specific places where print lives that we completely tune out as adults.
Oh, yeah, environmental print.
Right, environmental print.
Yeah.
It lists things like food packages, street signs, clothing labels, store names, and even phones.
It's the print that exists naturally in your everyday life. And the guide explains the psychological link happening here, which is fascinating.
The triangulation, right?
Exactly, the triangulation. When a child sees a logo on a box of crackers, and then they hear you say, do you want some crackers? They're triangulating. They see the symbol, they hear the word, and they get the object.
That connection seems so crucial.
It is, because that connection is arguably stronger than a book, because the motivation is higher. In a book, the motivation is, well, it's the story, but in the kitchen...
The motivation is the cracker.
Exactly. The motivation is the snack. The text explicitly says this is how reading begins. It begins with function. The sign tells me where the toys are. This box tells me there is sugar inside.
This label tells me this is my shirt.
Right. So it's utilitarian. It's a tool before it's an art form. And realizing that print is a tool is really the first step to wanting to use it.
Now let's get into the mechanics of this, because the guide goes into a section that I found really fascinating. It deconstructs the page. It's not just about noticing the words exist. It's about understanding the mechanics of how they work.
The rules of the road for reading.
Exactly, the rules of the road. This is the stuff we take for granted. We've been doing it so long we've forgotten there were rules at all.
Completely. The text calls this learning how print works. And when you break it down, reading is actually a really weird, arbitrary set of rules. It's a code we all agreed on, but it's not natural.
It is arbitrary. Take the specific rules the guide mentions, like words go from left to right.
Right. Why do we read left to right? There's no biological reason for it. In other languages, you read right to left or top to bottom, but in English, we have this strict traffic law. You start on the left to go to the right, and when you hit the end, you sweep back to the left and drop down a line.
That return sweep is complex. It's like using a typewriter in your brain.
It is, and a child doesn't know that instinctively. If you hand a toddler a book, have you ever noticed what they do? They look all over the page. They might look at the picture first, then the bottom right corner, then the middle.
Like you scan it like a painting.
Exactly. Part of print awareness is just learning the traffic patterns. Oh, we start here.
And the guide mentions spaces, too. Spaces, separate words. That's another one I haven't thought about since I was in first grade.
But conceptually, it's a huge concept. When we speak, we don't really put spaces between words. It's a continuous stream of sound. If I say, I don't know what you mean, that's acoustically one long sound block. But in print, we have to artificially chop that up.
So a child has to learn that a cluster of letters equals one unit of meaning, and the white space is the pause. They have to learn to see those boundaries.
Yes, they have to learn letters make up words and spaces separate them.
So how do we teach this without sitting them down and giving a lecture on linguistics? Because that sounds boring, and frankly, I don't want to do that.
The guide has a very specific tip for this, and it's surprisingly simple. The finger technique.
Right, running your finger under the word as you say it out loud.
It sounds basic, but think about what it's doing neurologically. You are synchronizing the visual input with the auditory input. You say milk, and your finger moves across the letters M-I-L-K at the exact same speed. You are literally drawing a map for their eyes to show how reading flows.
You're showing them that the voice takes time and the reading takes space and they actually match up.
You're bridging the gap between the abstract ink on the page and the language they already know. And the guide emphasizes doing this out loud. You can't just point silently.
The magic happens in the connection between the sound and the symbol.
Yes, the brain needs both inputs to make the link.
Okay, so we have which is print awareness. We have the mechanics and the rules of the road. Now, I want to get into the integration into daily life, the how-to, because this is where the guide really shines for me. It treats the everyday routine as a classroom.
It calls them perfect teaching moments.
Which I love, because perfect usually implies hard to achieve. But here, perfect just means integrated. You don't have to carve out extra time.
Right. You don't have to stop your life to do this. You're already cooking dinner. You're already cleaning.
Exactly. The guide walks through specific scenarios like cooking, walking, cleaning, and shopping. Let's look at cleaning. Talk about words on bottles. I never thought about my spray bottle of window cleaner as a literacy tool.
But it's full of text, warnings, brand names, instructions. Spray, clean, caution. Even discussing symbols on a cleaning product is part of literacy.
In shopping, saying things like, this sign says milk or this box says soap.
The grocery store is arguably the most print-rich environment a child encounters outside of a library. Maybe even more than a library, because the print is huge and colorful. It's a library of food.
Now this brings us to what I think is the most liberating instruction in the entire text. I'm calling it the one-time rule.
Oh, yes. This is crucial. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this rule.
The text says, say it once. That is enough.
Say it once. That is enough.
That goes against every single instinct I have as a parent. My instinct is, if I'm teaching something, I need to make sure they got it. What letter is this? Are you sure? Look again. What is it?
The drill sergeant approach. We've all been there.
Exactly. But the guide is saying, don't do that.
It's saying that repetition in the moment turns it into a test. And tests create pressure. If you say, look, that's an M, you have planted the seed, that's your job. If you ask them to repeat it back to you, you're digging up the seed to see if it's growing.
That's a great analogy. Digging up the seed kills the plant. You just want to expose them to it. The goal isn't mastery in that second. The goal is exposure.
Right, because if you turn every grocery trip into a quiz, the child's going to shut down. They'll stop looking, because looking leads to work.
We want looking to lead to discovery. We want them to feel like explorers, not employees. The guide also mentions specific things to look for target words. And the number one target is the child's name or the first letter of their name.
A child's name is the most important word in the world to them. It's their identity. So finding the first letter of their name on a sign is the strongest hook you have. It connects the abstract world of print to them personally.
The guide also mentions common symbols like stop signs or restroom signs. A child reads the red octagon as stop long before they can spell it.
And the guide counts this. That is print awareness.
This leads us perfectly into the emotional component and the parent mindset. The guide spends a lot of time on how the child feels during these interactions. It says print awareness builds confidence.
Think about the power of that. When a child recognizes a familiar word, like their name or a favorite snack, they feel proud and excited. They feel like they've cracked a code and they are participating in the adult world.
But that confidence is fragile. And the guide has a very specific warning for parents here. It says your role is not testing or correcting.
This is the hardest part. The urge to correct is so strong.
So, scenario, we're walking down the street. My kid points at a sign that says bakery and yells pizza. The guide says I shouldn't correct them.
The guide advises a calm voice and gentle guidance. The atmosphere has to feel natural and safe. It emphasizes noticing together. If you jump in with no, that's wrong, that says bakery, you've turned a moment of curiosity into a moment of failure.
So you just acknowledge they saw the sign.
Yes, you validate the noticing. You say, oh, I see that sign too. That's actually the bakery sign, but I really wish it was pizza. You gently provide the right info without shaming.
The guide explicitly states that the goal is not teaching reading yet. Curiosity matters more than accuracy.
Curiosity matters more than accuracy. That is the golden rule here. We are not grading them. If the learning environment feels safe, learning happens naturally. If it feels judgmental, it stops.
Okay, so we have the rules. No testing, no drilling, no correcting, just noticing. But how does a parent know it's working? The guide actually redefines what progress looks like.
It moves the goalposts in a way that is actually achievable for this age group.
The expert lists the signs of progress found in the text. It's not, can they read a sentence? It's, does the child look at words, letters, or signs? Do they point to labels, symbols, or logos?
Yes, simply engaging is the win. And the holy grail is when they ask you, what does this say?
Oh, when they ask you.
When they ask, what does this say, that is a massive victory. It proves they understand the print holds a meaning and they want the key. You successfully sold them on the concept.
I love that the guide also points out that progress applies to the parent, too.
Yes, it does.
This is progress is when you, the parent, start slowing down to notice print and feeling less pressure about teaching.
If you are noticing words naturally and feeling relaxed about it, the guide counts that as a success. We have to unlearn the mindset that learning only happens at a desk.
To help with this, the text offers a simple reflection tool. It's a one-sentence exercise. Today, when we noticed, print my child blank.
It's a great mindfulness exercise for the parent, just forcing you to observe.
And any response is okay. Today, when we noticed print, my child ignored me. That's a valid data point.
Exactly.
There's also a daily check-in box in the guide. It's very simple. Did we notice words today, yes or not today? And we're at home or outside.
It gets rid of the judgment of, did they do it well, and just asks, did we do it?
So to recap, the core takeaway from this Week 4 guide is that you are laying a strong foundation. Reading starts with noticing.
You can't build literacy on a foundation of anxiety. You need familiarity and confidence.
And the take-home challenge sums it up perfectly. Point to words or letters, say them out loud, and do it just 1 or 2 moments a day.
Just 1 or 2 moments, that's it. Point at the milk carton in the morning, a stop sign in the afternoon, and you're done.
It's so achievable. The text also gives us a brief look ahead. It mentions next week we'll cover how writing begins with meaning.
Which is the other side of the coin. Reading is decoding meaning from the world, and writing is encoding your meaning into the world.
We'll save that for next time. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought based on this source's philosophy. We've been talking about how reading starts before books, that kids learn these complex rules just by watching us navigate the grocery store or read a street sign.
Right, they are learning by watching us decode the world.
So here's the question for you to mull over. If reading starts before books, and they are learning something as complex as that just by watching us live our daily lives, what other complex skills are we teaching our children simply by living alongside them without even realizing it?
That is a very big question. Patience, kindness, how to handle stress.
Exactly. We are the curriculum. Something to think about the next time you're checking a label at the supermarket. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.